for you to join me on this YouTube channel today. One of the things I get a lot of questions about is how different universities make their decisions. Now, if you've watched some of my videos, you know that there's two different ways that you can actually go through the admissions process. One is competitive admissions and two is selective admissions. Now, competitive admissions basically means that school looks at your GPA and it looks at your ACT, SAT scores. That's what they base their decision on. A selective university, typically if you write an essay, they want to see the whole picture. So they want to see if you have extracurricular activities, do you have, what's your story, what's your background, where competitive is a little more cut and dry. You have the score, you're able to get in. So one of the universities I know a lot of my students end up applying to here in the state of Florida is the University of South Florida. But what I really like about USF is they have this really cool graph that I like to show parents and students about how competitive admissions works today. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is competitive admissions. So here you can see I'm on the University of South Florida website. What I like to do is, I can't always find it, but if you just either type in parents or counselor, as I'm doing here, and you see there's an overview right here, okay? And this gives a nice, good piece of information about the different aspects of admissions at USF. So I'm gonna go under high school counselors. Now again, you can do the exact same thing. And what I'm looking for is this first link right here called Initial Eligibility Requirements. So you're gonna click on that and you can see here's the website up here at the top and a PDF comes up. And so what they're gonna show us here is basically how the GPAs and everything is starting to get higher and higher. So one of the things that you guys should know is, if you haven't watched my video on recalculated GPA or read my article on the unmaze.me website, you definitely need to understand what your recalculated GPA is. That is not your weighted GPA and that is not your unweighted. But USF, UF, FSU, quite a few universities. If you look at my workbook, I have a whole page on how to determine your recalculated GPA. But that's how they look at admissions, which basically they remove your electives. Okay, so they only focus on your academic core. So here you can see the grades have definitely increased, meaning more students are taking more rigorous classes to get into that university. But look what I have here. This is really, really neat. And you might want to zoom in your screen a little bit so you can see this. And again, you can go to this website. It's up there already. So what this shows here on the left-hand side is recalculated GPA. Again, it's kind of between your weighted and a little bit of your unweighted, because you take out some of those electives, those A's that you got in choir or in drama or in PE, you take those out, and usually, you have a B in math or a B in English, it brings it down just a little bit. So that's kind of how I do it as a quick review of somebody's recalculated GPA. So let's say you look at that, you find what your number is here, and at the top you find your ACT or your SAT score. These are composite scores, okay? And that's a good thing to know too, is on your composite score, do they super score? Meaning, do they take two different tests to create a new composite score? So here, let's say a student has a 24 and looks at their GPA about a 3.5. Well, basically what they're saying here is you're not guaranteed admissions. They may look at some other factors. They may also look at, you may be considered for summer programs, but you're not guaranteed admissions. Now, let's say you are in the 4.0 range. Again, that's recalculated. That is not like you have to have straight A's. And you have a 26, you're basically guaranteed admissions into University of South Florida. So USF for some schools for some students are a match. Some students, it's called a reach school, meaning that I fall out of their requirements, but it's possible. And some of you fall within their requirements, meaning it's more of a match. Okay, so you can definitely look at this, and I really like for students to see this, to see how different universities are gauging students. Now, I find that USF and quite a few other FAU, FIU follow very similar kind of programs, but they're not as clear cut as University of South Florida. So that's why I wanted to show that to you today. But also I want you to click one back. Now remember how some students were in the gray area. Well, there are other academic success predictors. So for example, have you taken AP credits? Have you done IB courses or ACE coursework? Have you done more math than Algebra 2, like pre-calculus, calculus, statistics? Have you taken more science classes? Have you taken additional foreign language? Have you done dual enrollment? And do you have a post-secondary GPA of 3.0 in dual enrollment coursework? So let's say you took even just one psychology class is dual enrollment. If you got a C in that, that means you actually have a 2.0. So that's not going to help you that much. So you definitely want to see that. Another admission factors here is if you click on this, is these are the other things they look at. So while they use that graph, the people in the gray area, they want to check this out too. Your strength of curriculum. Have you taken progressively harder classes as you've gone out? And have those grades gone up? Okay. They also want to look at your dual enrollment grade point average. Now this is really important because again, a student might be only taking 1 or 2 dual enrollment courses, but if you fall below this 2.5, you can't even come into the university. If you fall below 2.0, you can't either. You have to fix those classes before you come into a 4-year university. So you need to be careful with those dual enrollment. They're great, and I love dual enrollment. However, you do want to be careful that you think, oh, it's just going to be incorporated into my high school GPA, and it does, but you are creating a college transcript. And then there's some personal statements. University of South Florida, if you feel like you have a story you need to tell them, or maybe you have a learning disability or something that gives more depth to who you are because they don't accept an essay, you can submit a personal statement and letters of recommendation from your counselor, from your teachers, maybe your coach. Okay, but here's some information. And then other factors. Are you a first-generation student? Are you low socioeconomic status? Are you just have a special talent? Maybe you play a certain sport or play a certain instrument. So there's lots of different factors going into it. So while you look at that eligibility grid that we have found here, there's other factors that they do look at. So while I do say competitive admissions is really based on GPA, and ACT, SAT scores, which is very true, that's the first thing. And then they look at other things to make their decision. So hopefully you've enjoyed this little look on the competitive admissions here in the state of Florida and elsewhere. If you have any questions, make sure that you email me, astirk@unmaze.me, and be sure to like my YouTube channel. Head out to my website, my unmaze.me, for more information. I'm putting stuff on there constantly, and so I'm super excited to have you guys here. So I'm going to say adios for today. Take care. Bye.